Yeah.
This is episode 87 of Seddy Bimco. And this is episode 37 of Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. And later, we're going to talk about the Christmas classic, 1954's White Christmas. And later we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to answer the age-old question, George.
Ooh. Oh, yeah.
Did the elves ever get revenge on Santa for making them pay for their own mental health insurance? Because, those elves, they were known to be a little down. They were short on cash, too. They had diminutive returns on their bank account.
Stop it now. Awful. Diminutive returns.
It's Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge. The show where we create revenge sequels that nobody wanted.
Seddy Bimco Part 2, The Revenge, where we make up revenge sequels to movies that didn't need them. And we also, when we watch a movie, we ask ourselves later, what character from this movie would be most likely to? And I pull a wildcard question.
What is the number? What is it?
Number 27. Who from this movie that we're going to watch, White Christmas, would be most likely to? Who would be most likely to dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Oh!
Wow.
That's the first one we've had in a while that wasn't
Sasquatch
a direct Sasquatch related. To most likely to dance.
It's Batman
with
related.
The devil. That's right. It is. Jack Nicholson is in this movie, I guess.
Did he improv that line?
I think I've heard that. Don't quote me on it. If you're writing a report about legendary movie lines from 1989's Batman, don't use this as a source. But I think he did quote that.
Okay.
But you know what? That doesn't make sense. I mean, he did coin that, but that doesn't make sense because that ends up being an important part, right? That's how Bruce Wayne figures out Jack Napier killed his kids. Whoa, that got dark. His parents
killed everybody. Yeah, he figured it out.
He was a fucking nihilist, that Joker. I don't know if you know that about that guy. So I want to start talking.
Yeah, because let's just say I was super sick last week, so George will do a lot of talking. And are you going to tell them what I would tell them?
Yeah, well, this is the all congested episode of Seddy Bimco. Tim's voice is just coming back. My nose is super congested. It was a big week. I think, if I recall correctly, because I was basically essentially on a week-long bender, so I don't remember. I turned 50 recently. Ooh. I'm old now. Yeah, I don't think I did talk about it because I was being vague about how old I was because I, for some reason, thought people could use it against me. But you know what? I'm 50. You can't stop me. I'm 50.
That's weird, George. That's how old, basically, Bing Crosby is in this movie. He's 51.
Is he really?
Yes.
Oh. Interesting.
Because in this movie, he's like, yeah, I'll get married someday, have a bunch of kids. And I'm like, you're 51. But anyway.
You can do that. Yeah, why not? That's perfect time to do it.
But back then, they died at 65.
Well, I'm going to go for the Tony Randall method. Tony Randall, previous mentionee on this very fine podcast.
Oh, that's right.
That guy threw a baby in the lady when he was 80. That's the way to do it. You pass on your genetic material so your genes continue in the grand march of life. But you're once shit gets real, teenage years, you're gone. You're yep. Have fun, young wife. So yeah, this was a big week. I think last podcast, I just returned from a surprise trip to New Orleans where I kind of partied for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
We recorded this podcast, and the next day, my wonderful partner, she arranged a surprise party for all my friends. Mm-hmm. And people traveled from out of town to be there. Like our friend Foofy, often mentioned on this podcast, that dude showed up secret.
Yep.
And Chris, who doesn't listen to this podcast, that dude showed up. You know who didn't show up? Guess.
Me.
Motherfucking Tim.
But you know what? I was super sick. You don't want
what he
it
says.
Because my wife caught it. Because I was it's a sore throat. Maybe they can't catch it. My wife's like, well, you can just come and say hey and leave. I'm like, well, it could be contagious. And now she's got it.
The good news is that your wife was there. So if she was contagious, we all have it.
She came for me. Yes.
I got to say something about the illustrious Miss Lee, the producer, your wife.
Mm-hmm.
We have previously mocked your terribleness at Irish goodbying. in the past on this podcast. An Irish goodbye, if you're not familiar with this euphemism, folks, is when you're at a party and you just kind of dip out.
Mm-hmm.
You get out while the getting's good. You don't go around hugging everybody, giving them like Tim's throat germs. You wait until nobody's looking directly at you and you disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Previous episode, we detailed Tim and Miss Lee's spectacular failure at doing this at our friend Chris's wife's 40th birthday. Turns out when she's not encumbered by sad sack Tim, Miss Lee is like a stealth ninja. She bamfed out of there like Nightcrawler from the X-Men. Nobody even knew. Yeah.
That's first thing she said when she came home was, I
sent me a mocking text. She was like, hope you realize you're closer to death now, you fuck. And I was like, wow, Miss Lee has some real animosity built up.
She shook me and woke me out of my coma and said, I wish goodbye them. I coughed on her face and somehow she got sick. I don't know.
Wow, do you think there's a connection there? So all my friends were there, but not Tim. So Tim.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're not my friend anymore.
You wouldn't want to catch this though. So
I'm sorry to miss it. You can hear me now. I got something. It's living in my nose. Folks, if you've never seen a photo of me, I have a big nose. So when something gets in my nose, it could last there for quite a while.
My throat hurt so bad. I drank orange juice. My ears hurt. Did you ever have a sore throat like that?
I have, actually. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's weird.
The last time I had that was when I went to the movies to see Return of the Jedi, and I had to get.
And you were drinking orange juice?
I had to get a Sprite. They didn't have orange juice at the movie theater.
That was my question. I'm like, that's an odd movie theater drink.
I just needed ice. So,
oof.
That's how I saw the Ewoks. Everything was ruined that day.
Well, I mean, it was Return of the Jedi, so. Take that, George Lucas, and your beloved movie trilogy.
Ooh, I'm sorry.
So my revenge story this week is the eventual revenge I will take on Tim. That's what I bring.
I'm sorry. Yeah. You guys wanted to catch that? Everybody there wanted to catch that? They would have been mad at me.
I would say that there was at least 3 people there who probably wanted to catch it. Just I'm not going to name names, but if you're listening, friends of mine, you know who you are.
I guess so.
Yeah, there's always fun. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you can never get a group of people large enough to agree on everything. You go in a room full of like 30 people, and you're like, I think death is bad. One of them will be like, I like death. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be disagreements.
I haven't caught up. I thought I'd do this while I was sick. I'm not going to watch any more Frasier because unless I find out there's a reason he doesn't go to Cheers, it's still bugging me. At least once a season, he should get invited to Cheers by his friends, and it should be a big, a bunch of catastrophes. He never gets there. At least
this has become delightful because this is the 3rd episode, I think, where you have mentioned Cheers. And in the first 2 episodes, there was one with Kino Cabino and there was one with me. You preface it by saying, I'm not interested in Frasier, but you keep bringing it up. Tim, your actions speak otherwise. I think you have a real fascination with this new Frasier.
Just why? Why is he not going?
I mean, I'll tell you why, because a lot of people don't know this, but you know how this is going to be dark. I'm sorry in advance, everybody. Cliff Clavin was a postal worker. They famously go postal. He shot Norm at the bar. Just shot him up.
No, I think he was a busybody. I think he rode the subway one day and the subway broke down. He's like, I'll fix it. I know what to do. And he got ran over and lost his legs. And then he was one of those guys in the electric wheelchair. And Cheers, it's downstairs, remember?
Yeah.
And he's like, Sam, you got to make this accessible to me, to, wheelchair handicapped people. And it was so expensive, he put Cheers out of business.
Wow.
We should get to the movie because my voice will give out unless you have anything else to say.
No, I did have a question about the movie right up front that you kind of answered already.
Oh.
My question was, is this movie actually a classic? Because the song certainly is, I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas, but I wasn't actually sure because I read that this was actually a song before it was the movie.
Oh, yeah.
It was a song Bing Crosby was known for doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, is this movie a classic or was this movie like a cheap grab in on it? But it seems like it is a classic.
The song was already a classic that he sang before this movie, yes.
Well, the song was, but I was wondering, was the movie as well? It's like
if you're 110 years old, this movie is a beloved classic.
That's the closest we've ever gotten to the source of your age.
And I want to point out that I don't love this movie because I'm like, oh, I love Bing Crosby. It's just my wife and I watch it every year, and it's become almost a surreal weirdness. We know every little mistake. We know every little line. We kind of hate it, I guess you could say. And if you love it, you know, that's fine with me. But it's super white movie, super sappy story. Characters are like
there's one character of color in it. He has one line.
Yes, but
the bartender. He goes, "Yes,
yes." He's a porter on a train, which at least they got that historical fact correct.
No, he's the bartender in the because he makes them cocktails. Yeah. Wait, are porters bartenders? Have I labored under this misapprehension all these years?
That's a famous job that was held by many black people in the 50s. They were porters and workers on the train.
This movie not set in the 50s, though. Oh no, it was.
It is. Yeah,
it's set. I'm glad you also addressed that up front, because one of my last notes, and Tim, I took a lot of notes in this movie because I have a lot of questions.
I thought you were just going to hate it.
I wrote, this movie is so unbearably wholesome that the fact Tim chose this makes me feel highly uncomfortable. And I spent a lot of time, and I did have a discussion with my partner. I'm like, so Tim watches this movie every year. And she's like, is it really bad? I'm like, no, it's just kind of old fashioned and like a lot of song and dance. And I don't know what to make of this. I feel like Tim really put himself out there in a way. There's a weird vulnerability. People watch this, and I think you'll know the dark, soft underbelly of Tim after this.
Well, I like some of the dance numbers and the choreography.
Can I tell you something that's going to piss you off?
What?
I fast-forwarded a lot of them dance numbers.
Oh, they're so great.
Yeah.
Mr. Fosse, Mr. Fosse, uncredited choreographer.
Really?
Yeah. Was
he the guy with the big teeth that had all the dance numbers instead of Danny Kaye and Bing Crosby?
No, he was the guy that went on to be on West Side Story.
And he also did Chicago. I know that, but I was just wondering. I don't know what he looks like. Couldn't have been this movie.
You didn't see Vera do that tap dance with her foot?
I did.
All right.
That's why I fast forwarded, because it kept going on.
This is the first film that was filmed in VistaVision,
which I hope you can tell me what that is.
Well, it was when they wanted to, because the 50s, the TV was distracting people, and they wanted people to come back to the theater. So they made giant screens and said, "Come see our giant screen. It's humongous, not like your little shitty TV."
Oh, it's like IMAX before IMAX.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, was it filmed at a different ratio than a normal film? I don't really notice.
I think so. If you watch it on your big screen TV, did you watch it on your phone?
No, come on. I watched it on my desktop.
Oh, okay. See, I got to be all. I'm cool, Jazz Tim. I'm just like, if I get upset with Tim. George, I'm going to call. I lost my voice for 2 days.
That's why Ms. Lee was posting on social media, like, this is the happiest 2 days of my life. I get it.
And she lost her voice. Well, so Time Magazine described the film as a big fat yam of a picture. So when it came out,
big fat yam of a picture. I don't know what that means, but okay.
In the 50s, yams were
I know what they are.
They were filled with hard seed. People bit into yams and broke their teeth. So it was like,
wait, was that really considered a bad thing to be a big fat yam of a picture?
Yeah, so it was a big fat yam of a picture, richly candied with VistaVision, tunes by Irving Berlin, massive production numbers, big stars. Unfortunately, a yam is still a yam. Yeah, back then yams had big seeds in them. People busted their teeth on.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, good. All right, this is Tim's Yam Corner.
So,
oh my God, Tim, your new podcast, Yammering About Yams. What do you say?
Yeah, I can't wait.
I'll be your first guest. So since you have like little to no voice, I will try to, even though this is your movie and we traditionally have the person who picks the movie be the narrator, I'll try to jump in with as much as I can.
Well, we don't need to do every scene if you can compress.
No, we couldn't, because it's madness. But I'll give you the.
No, it's not. It opens up. It's so stupid. The story is stupid.
It opens up. We are somewhere in the. They don't actually say if it's. We don't know where in Europe we are, but it's during World War II. It's 1944, Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm.
And we're at the front line somewhere. We're with a division. I think it's the 51st, which is just about to move out the next day. And a new general's coming to take over to relieve the old general. The new general's name is General Waverly. Is the old general.
Old general.
He's the good general.
Yeah.
And the new general, I didn't catch his name. Let's call him General Stick Up His Ass.
Yes.
And
he hates Christmas.
Who's responsible for holding a show in this advanced area?
Well, sir, as a matter of fact...
It was me, sir. Me, sir. It was my idea, sir. I mean, when you've got an entertainer, sir, of the caliber of Captain Wallace, sir. I mean, sir, it's Christmas Eve, sir. And
he hates Christmas. He hates singing,
sir,
and that's, wouldn't you know it? That's what these guys are doing.
That's what they love to do.
Bing Crosby, you know, guy. He plays Captain Wallace.
Yep, Bob Wallace is his name.
Bob Wallace, because Bing Crosby is probably the like 1950s equivalent of Dwayne the Rock Johnson, where he has an insatiable ego.
Yes,
you better believe Captain Wallace is not only just a captain; he's also already famous.
Yep, he's already a singer.
He's already a famous singer. He's playing basically Bing Crosby.
Yep.
And a plucky young private named Philip Davis, played by Brooklyn's own Danny Kaye, has gotten, the two of them have put on a show of like just guys singing and dancing to entertain these men right before they all get shot up by Jerry on the front lines.
You younger viewers will know Danny Kaye as the dentist on the Bing Crosby show. I mean, the Bill Cosby show. Bill Cosby.
I like that you made a reference to a TV show from 1985 and said you younger viewers. That says something about our audience.
They watch that.
But actually, you know, that is probably the first thing I ever saw him on. There is an important thing that comes up here that I want to address.
Okay.
The bad general stick up his ass through some trickery, is sent away so the men can have their show.
Yes.
But General Waverly, he wafts into the crowd. He goes, "Take it!" And all the men fall into line, and he calls out the private, and he's like, "What is this?" And he goes, "Yes, sir, we're putting on a show because we have an artist of the caliber of Captain Wallace. It would be a shame. Yeah. People would pay in New York. You would pay $6.60
or even $8.80 to see hear a great singer like Captain Wallace, sir."
I'm well aware of Captain Wallace's capabilities. Who are you?
So how much is that today?
Well, Tim, I want you to create a new theme song for this because this particular episode, folks, I'm letting you know, there's going to be a lot of this. And I came up with a name for this. This is kind of my shtick.
What's the name?
On the show. It's George's Current Currency Kerner. What do you think? Wherein, when we watch these old movies, because that means nothing to us. 660, 880, those are just numbers. That doesn't mean anything to me.
No.
A man living in the 21st century. Well, 660, $6.60, I made the assumption, although he does not make that clear.
He doesn't.
Would translate, that's 1944, translates in American dollars now to $112.58.
Ooh, wow.
880, if you're ready for this, that translates into, I can't read my own handwriting. $150.10.
Wow. That's like...
Now, I also, just in case you were wondering, in case he was talking about $660 back in the day, in that case, it would be $1,125.80. That seems less likely.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah.
That's
well. So that has been this installment thus far. Yeah. There's a lot, Tim, there's actually a lot of surprising money things in this movie.
I know.
That has been your installment of George's Current Currency Kerner. So then the war, they do their show for General Waverly, and then suddenly the Germans attack. They get bombed. Everyone's running. It's kind of, upon seeing this, the general stick up his ass was absolutely right. Like, if they were that close, they really shouldn't have been doing this.
They shouldn't have been.
There's explosives going everywhere. A big wall falls down. Danny Kaye, who turns out is actually kind of a tall guy, I never knew that, picks up Bing Crosby like a little tiny baby and carries him to safety, saving his life.
Yep.
He gets wounded in the arm.
Do you think they were stunt doubles, though?
No, I think that was, I mean, actually, that's a good question. I'm going to say no, because I think Hollywood was a dangerous place back then.
Yes.
This is all, by the way, this is all in enormous sound stages, like this
everything except the train station later.
Oh, yeah,
everything's
you're probably right
a
about
sound
that.
stage.
Everything. But big sound stages. Like, this is, I mean, as you might say as a film reviewer, this was a big old yam.
Yes.
So then Bing Crosby visits Danny Kaye in the hospital where he's got a bandage on his arm. And Danny Kaye's like, hey, I wrote a song. And Bing Crosby's clearly like, I don't want to see your dirty song, you dirty private. And he like, but somehow, it's kind of a weird scene because like the whole time he's like, I don't really want to look at it. And then smash cut to 10 years later. And
well, no, he holds his arm. He's like, well, gee, I saved your life. And he hurt his arm, we should say. Danny Kaye.
Which is something, this is kind of a Danny Kaye. It's kind of like he almost has like a Wookiee life debt, the way, yes. Chewbacca saved Han Solo. But it's also funny because you have the one guy, Captain Wallace, Bing Crosby, super famous. Yeah. Danny Kaye, they never actually say it. He's a professional panty sniffer as it opens, which doesn't pay well. So, but he writes this song. It becomes a big hit.
The song was called Panty Sniffer?
It was called Pretty Panty Sniffers, Pretty Panty Sniffers Ahoy. Kind of edgy shit for this white Christmas movie. Yeah. And then the two of them become a giant hit.
Yep, together. Doing these
Wallace
corny
and
songs.
Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I do want to address this sort of entertainment.
Yeah.
It seems like the hottest thing in show business, if this movie is to be believed, in 1954, is just two guys doing some very rudimentary soft shoe while singing songs.
And holding a cane.
Or perhaps holding canes, perhaps lip syncing.
Yes.
They
must have left out their jokes.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And you can see why. Oh, I see why in like the inner cities, like music forums like jazz and things were happening, because what was happening in mainstream America was pretty weak sauce.
But I do want to point out Davis is trying to introduce Bing Crosby's character to women to get him married, because for some reason he can't get a moment's peace. I don't quite, because it's a weak plot point, but
yeah,
it's like, come on.
It's 10 years later.
Yeah.
They're on tour in Florida.
Yes.
Which I'm like, what? I wrote down a note. There's shows in Florida? And basically, Bing Crosby is such a cruel taskmaster, such a workaholic, that Danny Kaye never gets time off, even though Danny Kaye was nothing but a professional panty sniffer before. And Danny Kaye's big plot is to get him married. Yep. Not Danny Kaye. He wants to get Bing Crosby married. So Bing Crosby will have, I think, 9 kids. He will spend 5 minutes a week with each child, which will give Danny Kaye 45 minutes off.
Yes. And
Tim,
this is the 19...
Wait, Tim.
You
Tim,
have some
hold on.
calculations?
This is a Georgia's current currency corner. Georgia's current currency corner. 45 minutes back in 1954.
How long was that?
That's still 45 minutes now. It's still 45 minutes. Yeah. All right. That was your next installment of Georgia's currency.
Wow.
Current currency kerner. Yeah, this is good. Good stuff.
But this is the 50s, which this movie always confused me, because 50 is very conservative. If you're 51 and you're a two-man act and you're both single and you're like 50, people are going to think you're like a communist homosexual.
And we should mention they're both single.
Yeah. And
actually in my head canon, I just assumed that they were, I thought it was going to be before they introduced this plot point, because we see them interacting in the military, and there's even a line about, one of them makes a line about being gay, but like in the happy sense, which I'm like, oh, that's funny. So I kind of was like, I think this movie's not going to address the idea of women, and it's just going to be like one of those wink, wink, don't ask, don't tells. But no,
not back then.
No, well, not directly, but there'd be movies. They'd be like, this person's a confirmed bachelor. And now we're like, I know what that means.
But he's 51. He's like, yeah, I'll meet some ladies and have a bunch of kids eventually. So I think he's lying. I think he had some secret reasons why he was single. And George, in case my voice gives out, I got my list right here up front.
Oh, the first list. Is it only one list today?
It's only one list.
Oh, you're slipping, Tim.
And ladies and gentlemen, I was sick. So this is a list of reasons why Bob really didn't want to get married, because he was 51. He's a bachelor.
Who's Bob? Is his name Bob?
Yeah, Bob Wallace.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Okay.
So I've been sick, and I hired a 109-year-old retired vaudevillian comedian, Tex R. McGillicuddy, to write my jokes for me today.
Oh, wow. This is... Wait, I'm gonna bet $100 no one notices the difference in quality, but go on.
He lost his voice in 1920, so he can't read them himself. He had the whooping cough, and he got run over by a trolley car and
oh shit,
lost his legs.
Oh man, Rough day for McGillicuddy.
Here's the reasons he actually said why he didn't get married. They got cut out of the film. He said, if I get married, she'll expect hugs and kisses every morning.
What's wrong with that?
I'm not hugging and kissing anyone until I've had my toast and coffee and I've made my way across town to the brothel.
Okay, Bing Crosby. All right.
And his other reason.
Yeah.
I've gone steady before, and I always have to hold the ladies' hands constantly.
Oh, I don't think that's true.
Oh, it is. If I let go, they run away.
Ah! McGillicuddy, you still got it.
These jokes. I pay good money for these jokes. I took a date to a speakeasy one time. We would have had a good time if I hadn't hurt myself carrying her home.
Oh, what? She had too much to drink?
No, she lost her wheelchair and playing poker. She had no legs due to getting run over by a trolley in 1920.
Wait, was this McGillicuddy himself? I'm confused.
No.
Wait, they were together when the trolley accident happened?
In 1920s, people got run over by trolleys all the time, George. They losing legs and arms left and right.
All right.
I took a lady camping once, and she started a forest fire.
She was careless with her matches?
Well, that, and she had a wooden leg. She lost one leg in a trolley accident in 1921.
Wow,
there,
Tim,
I paid for those jokes.
How much did you pay for McGillicuddy for those jokes?
I paid him 1920 prices, so like $10 just for the gag.
Okay, well,
I tried to get producer Miss Lee to write some gags, but she just wrote a bunch of gags about how Bing Crosby could only say vagina instead of vagina, and he freaked out all the ladies that he met. He had a speech impediment.
Wait, does he?
No, that was her. Oh,
because the bo.
Yeah.
Is he just stuttering and he's just trying to say vagina all the time?
Yeah, that's how he says it.
Oh, wow.
And ladies are like, what are you saying?
China. All right, show's over.
We figured it out.
Seddy Bimco's canceled. We mentioned the plot point. Danny Kaye trying to get Bing Crosby married. He tries to hook him up with some showgirls.
Please.
One of them is like a proto Harley Quinn.
Yes. Mutual, I'm sure, she says all the time.
Mutual, I'm sure. Tim, I'm going to tell you, I thought that lady was hot.
Yeah, she was pretty.
Not like a weird 1950s pretty. I'm like, wow. Like normally I see a 1950s lady, like a picture as the doddering old grandma she was probably lucky to become. Mm-hmm. This lady was kind of spicy. I looked her up. Bing Crosby picked her out of obscurity, and she was like a frequent dance partner of his.
I didn't read that part.
Yeah, she actually had quite a career, and she was pretty funny. However, I think we're supposed to think she's kind of a dummy.
Yeah.
And that's when Danny Kaye... No, actually, it's not Danny Kaye. Danny Kaye's trying to get him with her. They were trying to do a double date.
Yes.
And Bing Crosby goes like, girls like that are a dime a dozen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that means, Tim?
Uh-oh.
It's time for another installment of George's Current Currency Kerner. George's Current Currency Kerner. All right, so a dime back in 1954... That's now has the same purchasing power as $1.10 now.
Ooh.
So that's interesting. But then you have to, of course, divide that number by 12 because they're worth dime a dozen.
Yes.
So it turns out that you could basically purchase a showgirl in the day, or in Bing Crosby's estimation, a showgirl is worth approximately 9 cents.
Wow.
It's pretty rough.
Cents? That's rough. 9 cents.
Yeah, that's with inflation. I mean, geez, back then you were like a hay penny and a hay.
I'd gladly just pay the whole dime.
I mean, Tim, we do call you a big spender.
Yes.
Oh, here comes old spendthrift Hamilton. So question this part, because I was too busy doing George's Current Currency Kerner theme song, playing right here. I actually don't remember how we were truly introduced to the female lead. Oh, I do remember. Because they receive a letter.
They were in the army with the dog boy, they called him. He was ugly.
Yeah. So they're freckle-faced dog boy. Did you catch who he was?
Oh, yeah. It's Alfalfa.
Okay.
We see his picture.
I was excited. We see his photo. It's Alfalfa from
Little Rascals.
Of Little Rascals and guy who opens the pool in It's a Wonderful Life fame.
Man who died because he wanted his reward for returning a man's dog or something.
Yeah, got beat up in a bar fight or something. A character who he's come up surprisingly lot in the Seddy Bimco.
Yeah.
So they receive a letter from their pal, Dogface Boy, Freckleface, whatever his thing is, Haynes.
Benny Haynes.
Benny Haynes, who is Alfalfa, asking him to go check out a show his two sisters do. And they're like, a guy as ugly as Benny Haynes.
Mm-hmm.
What business does he have having sisters? Which seems very mean.
It does.
Especially since, I should mention, Alfalfa does not appear in the movie except for his photo.
Just his photo.
I don't think he had any. I think they didn't even pay him.
Oh,
I think they're like, who's the ugliest person we think of? Alfalfa.
Wow.
They showed that picture, and he was in a bar looking for lost dogs to return. He's like, I get no respect.
I think he died the next year. That's like sad.
Wait, really?
It was the 50s when he died. I forget what year.
Oh, maybe. Do you think this is what killed him?
Maybe.
You think they made up that story because they feel bad that Bing Crosby crushed his soul?
I'll look it up and tell everybody next week.
All right, nice.
It's not going to look it up now.
And so his two sisters, I wrote down their names.
We find out that the one sister faked this letter.
Yeah, Judy.
Her brother's out of the country. Did you catch where he is out of the country? Did you catch that?
Alaska. He was in the country. He was in Alaska. That's part of the country.
Alaska wasn't a state yet. That's how old this movie is.
What? I thought Alaska was 1941.
Nope.
Wow, 1958.
Yeah.
59, actually. Yeah, so yeah.
I wouldn't lie.
So he was out of the country. So the two sisters, Judy, who was the one that actually pretended to be her brother writing the letter, she has brown eyes, which is important. They're both blondes, but she has brown eyes. It's important because there's a scene where that happens. She's played by the woman, the one named person, kind of, just a hyphen. Vera Ellen.
Yes.
And the other one, Betty, who is, I got some things to say about Betty.
Rose.
First, I might get.
Yeah.
Well,
she's George Clooney's aunt.
Aunt, yep. Rosemary Clooney.
What else you got to say?
Kind of looks like George Clooney.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I was trying to actually identify the character, Betty.
Oh.
Because at first I thought she was cynical, but she's actually quite the opposite of cynical. I think she's a bit much.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say that. I think
it's a poor story.
Yeah, it is a bit. That's her reactions to things are outsized and nightmarish. So they do their act, which, Tim, I'm going to ask you to kind of sim up the act, because this is definitely one of those acts that about midway through I fast forwarded.
What?
And I'm glad because we heard this song twice.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Describe their act if you could.
Well, they just sing about being sisters. Sisters.
Yep.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da. What do you want to know?
Should we play a little here, I guess? I thought you.
Oh, I don't know. This is so famous.
Sister,
I might get in
never
trouble.
would miss my sister. My sister's covered with blisters. It's just, and they're just kind of doing this kind of stilted. They're both dressed in pink. It almost looks like they're doing a Madonna Material Girl thing, but there's two of them, and they're just kind of doing these kind of little.
The
routines.
song is important to the plot because they sing about how they do everything together, and no guy's going to break them up.
Yep. Which, yeah.
It's important.
Foreshadowing. So,
more money. Can we get to the money, or what you want? Oh, you want to talk about
this?
She meets. Okay, Mr.
Well, they watch their. Oh, I mean, yeah. So,
instantly get in a fight.
Danny Kaye is immediately smitten with Vera Ellen because he's like, they're both like, look at her, and Bing's like, look at her big blue eyes. And Danny Kaye's like, what do you mean? Her eyes are brown. Right. So that's the thing. Rosemary Clooney has blue eyes. Mm-hmm. Vera Ellen has brown eyes.
Oh, so I'm not going to remember
Danny Kaye. I mean, I won't come up again. This is for people at home because I know we get letters all the time. People are like, I enjoyed your recent review of Critters. However, you neglected to mention what color the brain-damaged, perhaps alcoholic uncle's eyes were.
We enjoyed hearing about Rotor, but you pronounced Loger's, I don't know, name wrong. What was his name? Langdon.
Who is Langdon?
The assistant
to the... Do you mean Howdley?
Howdley.
Lord. Go back and listen to Rotor. He can't get it right once.
It's a brain puzzle for me.
Yeah, it's never going to get it.
But, yeah, and Bing is like, ba. He's like, shut up. Don't talk about her vagina. We're trying to have a nice dinner.
Well, okay, that's what's important to know. Danny Kaye seems to hit off immediately with Vera Ellen, although I still couldn't decide if they were he seems to be in love with her. They have a cute little dance number up to the side. Mm-hmm. Bing goes over and talks to Rosemary Clooney at the table, and she immediately accuses him of being the cynic. And the two of them are just within seconds, just at each other's throats.
Yeah.
It's just you terrible toxic couple that you have no business being together. So this movie is flawed. And
they do.
then, well, what? Go on.
Oh, it's a great. Did you fast forward the dance number out in the dock with Danny Kaye and?
No, that was actually pretty cool.
Okay, she almost trips on his foot near the end. I hope you know that. It's left in.
No, this is
little things that we've seen over the years.
This is the thing. How many times have you watched this movie, Tim?
Many years. With G.
Like, you just had. Did you first see it together when it was in its first run in theaters in 1954? Okay, so every year since. Wow.
We threw our good and plenty at the screen. I'm upset.
You're so angry, and then that movie came on where it was just a train coming towards people, and you ran out of the theater screaming. Confusing. All right, so now this part.
More money.
The girls are about to go on again, and the stage manager comes out. Danny Kaye's back there talking to Vera Ellen, so he's privy to all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're like, the sheriff's here. Mm-hmm. Your landlord has a warrant out for your arrest because you burned a hole in the rug. Yeah,
what were they doing?
They say something about one of the girls is like, he's going to hit us hard for $200. Mm-hmm. Doesn't say hit us hard. They said a weird slang that I actually watched twice and still couldn't get. It was like oldie slang, but it was something like $200. So Tim, do you want to know how much that
I was wondering.
Hole in the rug? George's current currency current. This is insane.
1,000? No.
In 1954, $200 is equivalent to, in nowadays money, $2,207.
That was close.
But what was this fucking rug?
Oh, it must have been a nice rug.
Must have been the unicorn tapestries from the cloisters or something. It's just that's insane. It was... So they Danny Kaye immediately, because he's in love with Vera Ellen, he's like, all right, you guys climb out the window. Here's the tickets for the sleeper car that we have. Yep. Me and Bing Crosby to go to New York tonight.
We were going to sleep
those
together,
two. We were going to sleep in the same bed. I was going to be Little Spoon. He was going to be Big Spoon, even though he's shorter than I am. And we'll cover for you.
Yep.
And meanwhile, the guy who's in charge of the club has been just feeding the sheriff. Did you notice that the sheriff was inexplicably German?
Yeah, I do remember he had an accent.
It's weird. I was like, yeah. Just remember that too.
This movie is full of white people problems. Like, yeah, they didn't pay. They burned your rug. I'll get to it after I drink all this coffee and all this food and the
He's
schnitzel.
Just eating all this food for free. Yeah, schnitzel. He's like, do you have more schnitzel and a stein of long? Wait, no.
He had a cigarette. He was eating his schnitzel slowly.
He was dropping the cigarette on the floor, burning holes in the rug of the club. I was like, what? Why would you do that? All right.
So they do a drag act. In Florida.
In Florida.
It's not a very good drag act.
No, it's terrible. So basically, when he says the girls are gone. Mm-hmm. Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye, they put on some eye makeup. They wear some feather boas. They roll their pants up very high so we can see their sock garters. And they perform the song of the Haynes sisters.
Yep. They put on the record. Yeah. What?
That's the thing. The Haynes were fucking lip syncing. This garbage entertainment was them.
Our albums.
It's a recording. It's the same recording.
She made a point of saying,
same song.
Our albums. We need our albums, and he's like, "I'll take care of them." So
it is. It is noteworthy. It is in drag. It's drag. It's in Florida. You see in the background, there's a particularly ugly baby crying uproariously. Ron DeSantis.
Yes, probably. That's right. I saw him.
Yeah, his first appearance. At the end of the scene, they just drop him on the floor and kick him around like a lump of shit.
They beat him with a Disney doll, and his origin story.
He's like, that's why he goes bad.
They get on the train.
Who's they, Tim?
Everybody. Oh, yeah, everybody.
Yeah, but we don't see the girls get in the train.
No, Bob Wallace and Mr. Danny Kaye Davis, they get in the train, and they do a whole routine. It's like, give me your tickets. Oh, I don't know where my tickets are.
You're supposed to have the tickets.
Are they in your snood? No, they're not my snood. Whatever that is, I don't know.
Do they really say snood?
Yes.
That's a Dr. Seuss thing, right?
I think it's the thing you put over your head to sleep. I don't know. It's a snood.
Okay, interesting.
Back in the 50s, you wore it.
You think it was slang for nude because they were gonna fuck?
So is it hidden in your vagina? No, it's not.
Vagina. I'm glad we're doing this joke.
I'm glad we're doing this joke.
This is good. This is gonna be one of those episodes when someone's like, "Have you ever heard my podcast? Listen to the White Christmas one. I think you'll find us particularly charming." All right.
I'm just getting you to the next bit with your money.
So the guys are on the train, the train from Florida to New York City. They don't have the tickets because Danny Kaye gave them to the girls. I won't really admit it to Bing Crosby yet. Nope. So Bing Crosby's like, all right, well, we got to pay to get on here. And the conductor's like, there's only the only seats left. You have to sit up all night in the cabin car, like where the food is.
Yep.
And like, okay, how much is that? For the two of them? Oh, Tim, did you start the George's Current Currency Kerner theme song? Ka-ching. George's Current Currency Kerner. For the two of them, their tickets to sit up in a food car all night long, because it's like a 36-hour ride or something.
Yes, back then.
It is. No, it still is. I looked it up. I did research, dude. Ooh. $97.21 is what they were, or 25 cents is what they had to pay. Guess how much this translates? That's for two tickets.
Yeah.
How much that is for now?
Must be $500.
Well, that's per person.
Per person.
$97 is $1,072.88, wow. Which means per ticket to sit up in a cabin car, they were paying $536.44.
Wow.
Now, did some research, Tim.
Okay. More research.
If you were to be a person who wanted to take a train from Florida to New York, if you rode coach nowadays, it would cost you between $100 and $150.
Oof.
So this is a very rare instance.
Did it take him of
where the prices went way, way down?
Oh, well, yeah.
If you wanted to have like a little room sleeper, they would go between $600, $800, which is about what they paid to sit up in a food cabin. And if you wanted your own private bathroom with a shower, $1,000. And this has been your latest installment of George's Current Currency Kerner.
Take a train. We love the train.
Hey, should we mention our new sponsor, Amtrak?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Well, they spend the night in there. They meet the girls, and then Bing is like, "Oh,
those girls were in our room. I'm going to go back there and give them a piece of my mind." And then the girls are behind them. "Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Crosby."
Gave our
and
money.
He's like, "Want to have a drink?"
Yes.
We have the only appearance.
Well,
we have the appearance and the only line of the only person of color. Can we get 4 drinks? Yes.
Yes.
Yep, that was it.
They make a diorama of a snow-covered hill like adults do when they drink.
Maybe I sped past this part.
They sing the songs.
They were singing, yeah. I do remember seeing that. It was garbage. Snow, 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 snow. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, and I just fast forwarded. But yeah, there was like a pile of white shit on the table with like green things stuck in. I'm like, are they doing enormous amounts of blow?
Yes.
No.
But they go actually to Vermont. They skip New York. They go to Vermont because the girls have a show at an inn in Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of our plot points.
I forget, Tim, at this point, Danny Kaye is definitely grooving on Vera Ellen.
He's unclear.
He is. It seems like he is at first. Like they seem very smitten, but then later
he's
something happens, which is very disturbing.
I don't know about getting married.
No, he's even afraid to kiss her.
I know. So I don't know what's
It's
going on.
Very odd. It's very, very weird. Is Bing into Rosemary Clooney again at this point?
Slowly, yes. Slowly.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really understand why they went there, because you have the one guy who seems pathologically afraid of girls, and then you have the other guy who seems to really hate Rosemary Clooney. Why would you go along?
They go to Vermont because it's very weak. I think Bob's like, yeah, what the hell? Maybe I'll see a vagina. I don't know. That joke is nothing. It's not even a funny joke.
You gotta do it. You gotta do it more Bingish. That's the thing. Or how about boobs? That's more obvious.
So they go to an inn.
The whole time they are singing about how it's a winter wonderland. It's a recurring line. Oh, there's so much snow up there. It's America's snowy winter wonderland.
Yes. And
they pull into the train and it looks like they filmed it in Florida.
Wah, wah.
And one of them, I think, is Danny Kaye goes, "Where's the beach? Yeah,
Danny
Kaye, you're incorrigible.
We got to get a suntan here."
No snow. There's no snow because it's hot. So they go to the Columbia Inn, which is where the girls are been booked for a week of shows.
And I have to mention this. The inn is run by Emma Allen. She's the innkeeper. She's a famous actress. She's in so many movies. She's in Abbott Costello movies. She's been on TV. She was like a famous character actor.
And her character's name is Emma, too.
No. Yeah, she's Emma Allen. I'm not giving her real name because I forgot to do the research about her real name.
Oh, so the character playing Emma is a famous person. But the actor
I can go back up and look at all the names. I wrote her name down. Her name is Mary Wicks.
Yeah, let's just call her Emma.
Yeah, Emma. That's important.
Emma.
It's important.
So they get into the inn, and Emma's at the front desk, and she's like, "Oh, honey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you two came here. Nobody's coming because there's no snow, and everybody stays at home. We'll pay you a half-price kill fee."
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, "Oh, but they're like, well, we'll go to New York." And then in walks, carrying a bunch of firewood, none other than General Waverly.
Yep. And they all do their funny thing where they salute him and drop everything.
Yep. And Danny Kaye's like, "General Waverly, janitor." And Waverly goes, "It's worse than that. I own the place.
I own this shit can.
And he starts punching everybody.
And he's got a granddaughter.
That doesn't happen.
Who has not much to do with the plot at all, but he's got a granddaughter.
No, and Tim, they spent a long time identifying her as a granddaughter.
Mm-hmm.
There's no evidence of a son or daughter or even a wife. I thought she was his child bride. I really did. And there's a scene later when he comes down the stairs and she looks at him with such love in her eyes. I'm like, oh, I don't like this. I'm uncomfortable.
And I do have to point out Emma Allen, the innkeeper. Her whole shtick is she's a busybody. She listens to every phone call and she reads everybody's mail.
Yep, and this is shown as a good thing.
Yes, today this is wrong, but back then
it's actually her wit. She saves the day at some points doing this.
When she ruins everything too.
Yeah, it's true. But then everything guys, spoilers, happy ending. So they realize after talking to the former General Waverly, he put all of his pension, all of his savings, he sold his left leg, all this stuff into building this thing, and he's about to go under because there's no snow and nobody's coming.
Yeah.
So they realize they got to do something crazy. Bing Crosby, he's like, "I have a crazy idea." Boobs. And he runs off to the phone and he makes a call to his manager in New York. And he's like, "All the guys on our show," because they have a big traveling show, like all the dancers, all the musicians, the guy who treats my herpes sores, all that stuff. Send them on a train. Everybody could get back. They get bonuses. We're bringing them here. We're going to make this an off-season show. We're going to bring in enough people to save General Waverly's Columbia Inn.
It's not his manager. It's Ed Harrison, who is basically Ed Sullivan.
That's later, Tim.
Okay.
It's the manager first. Ed Harrison has the TV show. How many times
does it matter? Does it matter for this plot?
Yes, it does. Because he asked the manager how much it cost. So we don't see. We just see him react. And Danny Kaye's like,
"Ooh, how much?
How much was it?
How much?"
And he says, between ouch and boing. So
Danny Kaye goes,
it's time for another. It's time for another installment of George's current currency.
How much is
corner.
ouch and boing today?
George's current currency corner. So in 1954, ouch, and nowadays it stands for, "Oh, I have a burning itching sensation in my groin."
Yes.
Okay. Boing is Grand Slam Boner Jam.
Okay. Really?
And wow is you're so attractive. This has been another installment of George's Current Currency Kerner. I think the final one for this episode. No, it's not. I spoke too soon.
Yeah, there's some more money going on later.
Yep, there's more money.
So they're basically practicing putting on a show.
And because certain people couldn't make it, probably the Jewish people, they fill in the missing bits of the cast because this is White Christmas, and if you don't fall in line with that Christmas,
1950s, no,
yeah, they don't even know what Jews are back then. The girls, being the Haynes sisters, are going to fill in certain key parts.
Yeah,
yep.
They They do a minstrel show, thankfully, with no blackface.
The horror.
Yes, the horror. Those faces on the tambourines.
They do a couple of cute things in this movie where, like, is an excuse to have musical numbers.
Yes.
They'll just, like, you actually see, like, a theater placard and goes, rehearsal at 12 for the minstrel show. So you see that first, and, like, my mouth is hanging open. I'm gripping my notebook and nervous. I'm like, what am I going to see here? What on earth? Like, this movie's called White Christmas. I was already really scared about the racial overtones. I'm like, what is Tim making me watch? They don't, thankfully. They just wear, like, top hats.
Well, Tex R. McGillicuddy, he wrote that joke, remember, that they did in the song, which was how to stop a dog from biting you on Monday.
How do you do?
Did you fast forward, or did you?
No, you give him away on Sunday?
The answer is to kill it on Sunday. Hilarious.
I think he says give it away.
Oh, I thought you said kill it.
Oh, wait. Which version did you watch, Tim? Was Asmodeus in this one?
Yeah, he was.
Oh, shit. He wasn't in mine. Oh, okay. Call back to previous Seddy Bimco episode, Equinox. It's a good one.
So Judy wants Betty to meet Bing more and like fall in love. And they're going to bed at night. She's like, go to the kitchen and eat something. You'll be able to sleep. Go eat something. Go drink some buttermilk. All this gross stuff. And she's like, okay, I'll go. And she goes, and Bing is there practicing, and she's hungry, and he's got sandwiches. And he explains all the different dreams you can have with the different types of sandwiches. Did you like that part?
Yeah. Well, he said, she's like, because they're flirting. It was actually kind of a cute scene. He's like, they're sitting there, she's like, well, what do you eat when you want to dream about a certain type of girl? This is Rosemary Clooney to Bing Crosby. He goes, well, when I have a ham and cheese, I dream of a tall blonde. And when I have a turkey, this part, I didn't get what this means, but it sounds filthy. A brunette, but a real scat back. Sexy.
Was that what he said? Or you yes and
no, he really said a scat back. I looked it up because I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And sure enough, that's the quote, a scat back.
But you don't know what it means.
So I think, well, I didn't want to go any further, but it's turkey makes you think of a brunette scat back. I assume it's a woman who shits herself a lot, but he's into scat play.
Oh, I totally missed that all the times I saw this.
And then she says, what about a liverwurst sandwich? He goes, dreams of liverwurst. But Tim.
What?
I have a list.
I have one too.
Uh-oh. I thought you only had one list this time.
Well, I just had some extra sandwich dreams, but you go ahead with yours.
All right, so my list. This is a list of different sandwiches and what sort of women you will dream of when you eat these sandwiches. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
So first one, a ham sandwich on rye. Mm-hmm. You dream of Mama Cass.
Oh, okay.
For Mama. Wah, wah.
That's a rumor.
Yeah, you dream of a double down, which the double down is the famous sandwich KFC offered where instead of bread, there was 2 fried pieces of chicken.
Ooh.
So you ate like a chicken sandwich and the bread was fried chicken. You just you dream of the grim specter of Lady Death because you can eat that, you're going to die of congested heart failure.
True.
Yeah. A head cheese sandwich.
Uh-oh. Let me guess. A head cheese sandwich? What are you going to dream about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Just tons of girls' assholes. Just piles of assholes.
What?
Yeah, because that's what head cheese is made of.
Oh, I thought it was made of cows' heads.
No. That's what they tell you, Tim.
Oh, Jesus.
It's nothing but barking spiders and leather Cheerios and balloon nuts. If you know, those are all slang for... Yeah, it's dirty. That's what Bing Crosby. He likes to eat a big old head cheese sandwich before bed. He's like, yeah.
I'm gonna look this up.
And my final one, number 4.
Yeah.
If he eats a buttered ham sandwich, he dreams of himself, Bing Crosby.
Yes, being a serial killer.
Being a serial killer named Dr. Cook. Another reference to another episode of Seddy Bimco, Dr. Cook's Garden,
starring Bing Crosby in his last role as the weed killer.
Yep. As a guy who kills people with buttered ham sandwiches.
Tim,
what's your list?
I didn't have a list. I just had some sandwiches he left out because he said peanut butter and jelly. You dream of getting run over by a trolley and losing a leg.
I thought you were. Is this another joke McGillicuddy paid for?
Yes. Cheese and onion sandwich. You dream about Mark Twain burning a hole in your rug. Yeah, that's all I had.
That's it?
That's it.
Glad you added this list, Tim.
It wasn't a list. It was just...
You were supposed to specifically dream of women, too.
I don't play by the rules. Come on.
I'm a maverick.
When have I ever played by the rules?
This is true, Tim.
So then the general's like feeling down about everything. And he tells Bing Crosby, I'm going back in the Army, so don't worry about this big show. I wrote him a letter. I'm going to get back in. And Bing's like, well, I just got the mail. Here it is. Got your letter. And he's like, well, read it to me, because I can't read very well anymore. And he
starts to read the letter.
Yeah.
And the first thing he says is, don't read that word.
Yes.
Tim,
what was that word?
Forward momentum halted. I have another list.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, fucking list of what that word was he told him to skip.
I'm happy for lists.
Yeah. Right. The first one is Wee Willie Waverly. A little embarrassing.
Yeah. That's not so bad.
His name is yeah, it's not so bad. It gets worse because the second one is Mommy Dearest.
Okay,
it's kind
that's
of
not bad.
What's that? Yeah, it's the third one is where it gets a little confusing. Mein Führer. That's troubling.
What are you doing bringing up Hitler on here?
And I thought it was safe finally after all this time. And the fourth one is the Felchinator.
The Felchinator. What do I know that from? I'm sorry.
I made it up. But you know what Felch is, right?
Yeah. That's that kid from the Goonies.
No, that's the mouth? The sloth?
Oh, Felch is the guy from Happy Days.
No. Do you really know what Felch means?
Ralph Felch.
Folks,
sorry.
We're not exactly a G-rated or even a PG-13 rated podcast, but I feel like the definition of Felch might be a little bit too randy, even for this podcast. So go to Urban Dictionary, type in Felch, and be prepared.
If I'm going to step on your jokes, I just got to do it. I got to stomp on it.
Do you really not know what Felch means?
I don't. Yeah, I do. Yeah, George, I do. Yeah. I do.
Guys, I don't think he knows.
I think it's the reason that Frasier won't go to Cheers anymore.
Who felched him at Cheers?
Too many Felch. Too much Felch going on at Cheers.
Who felched him there? Was it Sam?
Cliff.
Did Sam felch
Cliff? Cliff sits outside, and once it's closed, in his electric wheelchair with a beer, and people just put their coins in. He's like, oh, whatever.
I bet you that mustache would really tickle when he felched you too.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they won't let him back in the Army.
Nope.
It was a big problem for the Pentagon. He was writing letters every week wanting to get back in the Army. And they had
because he's too old and he feels old and useless.
They had 20 men working on him, like writing him letters back to keep him out. It was called Project Loud Pee-wee. Project Loud Pee-wee was like 20 men working 20 hours a day to write him letters back saying, no.
I thought it was Project Waving on Waverly.
Waving on Waverly.
Go on, Waverly.
That's good.
Go be old. Yeah, thank you.
That's too on point.
Oh, is it too on point?
Anyway, he walks over to play horseshoes. He's like, guess I'll play horseshoes. He gets bonked in the head.
There is a game of horseshoes the old men are playing in the background. Because we should mention, it's not like the inn is totally empty. They made it sound like it's be totally empty, but I did appreciate the touch of realism. He does have customers there, just not enough.
Yeah.
But these old men are throwing horseshoes, and he just fucking wanders into the middle of the throw. And he's like, oh, it's a nice throw. Like, I swear, one of them misses his head by inches.
I know, it looked like it.
That was probably a mistake too that you saw. Like, there's a scene they cut out where the actor playing Waverly gets killed.
Maybe. Probably.
Yeah, they just made a rubber puppet of him for the rest of the scenes.
So, to get to the end of this plot.
There's some more money. We got to get in there.
Okay. Well,
I don't remember what it was, though.
Which point? I was just going to get to the part where...
this is the part you put. Yeah, this part's important.
Well, they're doing music, and it seems like Bob and Clooney are falling in love. And but Bob makes a call to Ed Harris because he decides he's going to have all the men...
Ed Harrison.
He's going to have... Yep. He wants to go on the Ed Harrison show, tell all the men to come to the inn, surprise the general.
All the men formerly under the general's command of the 51st Infantry, not all the men in the world, because seems...
all the men in the world.
That's crazy, but would actually work in this movie.
He's like, what an idea.
We just want men!
What an idea. It'll be raining men. And
then they sing the famous It's Raining Men, Hallelujah scene.
Yes.
The most famous scene from White Christmas.
So
and Ed Harrison, aka Ed Sullivan, he's like, great. And this is the part where Emma almost fucks everything up. Emma, the housekeeper.
Because she listens to half the message.
Yeah. Well, she misses a very important part because Rosemary Clooney walks down the stage.
Yeah.
She hears that sounds so good, but Ed Sullivan is very excited. He's like, we can broadcast this. It'll be like the equivalent of $100,000 worth of free advertising.
Yep. And Bob's like,
and then that's when Emma hangs up.
Yeah.
And then Bing Crosby's all like, no.
But billions of dollars? No. We're not going to do that.
I like that you're not emoting the Bing Crosby, so you're kind of doing a Porky Pig.
Nobody knows what he sounds like.
Bing Crosby or Porky Pig?
The Bing Crosby. Yeah, Bing Crosby.
Bing Crosby.
You only know what Mark Twain sounds like, but Bing Crosby, he's a mystery.
Nobody knows the Bing Crosbys I've seen.
So,
yeah.
So Emma tells Mrs. Clooney, like, oh, it's terrible. He's doing this for money, and he's going to embarrass the general with a sob story. And she's like crying. And Clooney's like, whew, and she blows everything out of proportion.
And, well, before we get into this important plot element, it's time for the final for this episode installment of George's Current Currency Kerner. George's Current Currency Kerner. So the message on the phone, which Harrison, or no, let's just call him Ed Sullivan because I never remember the name.
He's supposed to be Ed Sullivan.
Tells Bing Crosby. He's dead. He's definitely Ed Sullivan. He tells him for $100,000 worth of free publicity, which $100,000 back in 1954.
That's a lot.
That translates to $1,103,335 today.
Woo.
However, I don't know if this is a weird screw up in the movie or just something that they were trying to do as a character bit for Emma. When Emma tells this to Rosemary Clooney's character, the number has been inflated to $200,000.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Publicity. Yeah.
She inflates everything.
So, yeah, because I think it's supposed to be that she just is an exaggerator.
Yeah.
So the $200,000 in 1954 translates to $2,206,669.69 for good measure. Today, 69. Yep. And that, thanks, that has been the final installment this episode of George's Current Currency Kerner.
So, Mrs. Clooney gets all mad. She basically runs away. Like, they try. Davis and Vera pretend to get engaged so that she's free to get engaged to Bing Crosby.
Well, you're skipping some plot points. Rosemary Clooney's horrified that they're basically like, she's like, he's going to sell out the sheriff, the general's dignity. And she's so grossed out by the idea. It's like, she's so she sucks. She just sucks.
Because she could have asked.
Is a red flag.
She could have asked.
She could have asked. Yeah. Instead, she's all antagonistic and stuff. And then Danny Kaye and Vera Ellen are seeing that something weird's going on. So Vera Ellen's like, I think it's that she's always looked out for me as the big sister, and she can't let herself fall in love until she knows I'm taken care of. Like, I'm engaged. And Danny Kaye's like, well, how are you going to get engaged out here in the middle of Vermont? And she's all like, I don't know. Maybe there's somebody here, somebody who's witty and amusing. And she uses gay again. I was like, hee hee. And he's like, oh, but I can't do that. She goes, don't you find me witty, amusing, and gay? He goes, yeah, but I find my Cocker Spaniel amusing, witty, and gay too. Which I'm like, oh no. So that raises the uncomfortable image of Danny Kaye dog fucker. But
never heard about his dogs until now. Like, who's taking care of your dog?
I was thinking, yeah, exactly. This guy's on the road all the time. There's like there's a sad desiccated dog skeleton in some rundown apartment somewhere.
Yeah. So
they have a fake engagement. And she's clearly coming on to him. And like up until this point, it seemed like he was super into her, but she's all like leaning close and she's touching his inner thigh. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, don't you want to kiss me? He's like, no, I don't like to kiss girls. It's very odd.
It is. It's the whole thing. It's a weird movie where they're like, ooh, girls.
So there's like a dance number. There's a bunch of people. There's a guy with a guitar just and a mustache just hogging the front of the camera.
I do like Danny Kaye's dance number where he makes fun of modern dance. Did you at least watch that?
Oh yeah, they do it's another one of those scenes, just like the minstrel show. Yeah, choreography
and it's good.
and he's dressed in purple, and he's got a beret, and he's got eye makeup on. And that was fun. I fast forwarded some of it, but
so she runs off to New York. She's like, I can't do this. I gotta go.
Well, they think she runs off because they announced his engagement to her sister, but she runs off because if her man is going to make any money off this, she can't stand that.
Yep.
Well, no. Here's what. Okay, so she writes a letter. Rosemary Clooney writes a letter saying she's leaving to New York. And they think it's the fake engagement thing. And Bing Crosby turns on Vera Ellen and Danny Kaye.
Oh, yeah.
And like, your fake engagement chased her off. And Danny Kaye goes, I guess we laid an egg.
Yep.
And he goes, brother, you laid a Vermont volleyball, which is the segue for George's final list.
You keep saying final. You keep saying.
I know. I like the word. No, I did my final current currency Kerner. This is my final list.
Okay. I'm sick this week. So.
This list is, I had to pick up the slack because I figured you just wouldn't. And also, Tim, I'm power mad.
Text our McGillicuddy to write some jokes.
McGillicuddy, yeah, that guy sucks though. I enjoy halting all progress on the show using lists.
Okay.
I think that you have introduced a dangerous weapon into my arsenal. I suspect it's only going to get worse from here on in. I think season 3 will just be lists. That's what it's just going to be.
Okay.
So
Merry Christmas.
This is this this list is other regional things to lay.
Okay.
All right. Starts off as most of my lists do, pretty reasonably.
Okay.
Udis laid a Brooklyn basketball.
Good one. I like that one.
Yeah, it's alliterative, just like the Vermont volleyball. It's slightly larger. You can see how it's gone. Udis laid a Minnesota muck maker.
Nice.
That's a little weird. Don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
Seems upsetting. Don't like the idea of laying muck. Seems odd, right?
Mm-hmm.
Brother Udis laid a Saskatoon silent but deadly.
Nice.
Oh, now we're beginning to transit. It's still regional, but we're transitioning out of things that could be ostensibly physical objects.
Right.
We're just talking other things that are laid now. Other things that smell like eggs, coincidentally. Tim, this is one for the folks back home for you.
Back home?
Brother Udis laid an Auburn anal prolapse.
Oh, back home for John.
Back home for you, Tim. That's where you came from.
That one sounds painful.
Yeah, that's getting worse. And the worst one, this is the worst one of all. Brother Udis laid a Florida.
Ooh, that's terrible.
Yeah, you can't really add anything else to Florida. Anything you add to Florida automatically dilutes the awfulness that is Florida.
Wouldn't you just say
it's not as bad?
You just floated a Florida?
That's better.
One of those
Tim,
turds that floats?
You floated to Florida is better. It's got the alliteration. Tim, thanks. You just improved my list. My final list.
Yeah.
All right, take us home. Take us home, baby. Yeah.
Well, Bing goes on the show. Oh, he sees Rosemary sing one more song. She was in a nice dress. Nice black dress. You like that black dress? She's saying, love, you didn't do right by me.
Yeah, and she sees Bing Crosby in the audience, so she changes the number and sings it very pointedly at him.
Yes. And,
because did we mention he chased her to New York? He chased her to New York.
He had to go get on Bob Harris's show. Ed Sullivan's show.
Bob Harris, former editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics?
Yeah, that guy.
Not Ed Sullivan show.
Ed Sullivan. Yeah. He had to be on the show to contact all the men that in the world, so it could be rating men, that used to serve with General Waverly, and they got to keep General Waverly away from the TV because he loves that show. Wouldn't you know it?
Yep.
Wouldn't you know it? Most people are watching I Love Lucy, but he has to watch that show.
This was in an alternate universe where I Love Lucy didn't exist.
So this is our wacky comedy relief where Danny Kaye pretends to fall down the steps and keeps General Waverly away from the TV. He's like, you got to carry me out to my hut. I don't want to sit in front of the Ed Sullivan show. It hurts my leg. And
it's a very delicate balancing act because General Waverly's like, let's call a doctor. He's like, no, don't call a doctor. But he's like, just got to lay down. So
I got no health insurance.
It's wacky hijinks. Yeah. And
he tells him a big story. He's like, he tells General Waverly he believes Hitler is alive in South America and doesn't like to watch Ed Harris. He likes to watch Love Lucy.
Not Ed.
Can't they turn the
Ed
channel?
Harris now. Oscar-winning actor Ed Harris.
Oh no, not again. I can't remember this name.
Just say Ed Sullivan.
Ed Sullivan. So that's that. And
Bing Crosby
and Betty
appears on the show.
Betty watches the show, even though she hates him.
Yeah, she watches the show, and he sings a song lamenting the lack of jobs for generals, which I thought was fucking hilarious. Yes. America has too many generals who don't have enough wars to have them. I'm like, is this the message we want to put forth in our Christmas movie?
And this is the time
when he gets the message out.
And she sees it, and she goes, oh, no, I was wrong. And she starts to cry.
I could have just asked a question instead of racing across the Northeast. So he's like, hey, and he very conveniently is like, fellas, I know it's a big ask, and there's no money in it for you because we're doing this all for free to help him.
No money.
So he makes it very clear.
Whatsoever.
But Christmas Eve, come on down for your old general. Yep, pay your own way.
Leave your family.
I ain't going to help you. Yep. Screw your family. Poison them slightly. They'll recover. Just use a little bit.
No Lionel trains for those kids this year.
Oh, Lionel trains, the train makers, just the toy train makers. Yeah. I feel like we just need to.
No Lionel trains.
I don't know, everybody. No Lionel trains. Take your kids' Christmas presents, stamp on them, throw them in the fireplace. Tell them Santa dropped it down the wrong thing by accident.
So,
yep.
So the general, they trick him into wearing his uniform, and when he comes downstairs, somehow, all those men showed up. He never noticed. Where they parked the cars.
That's what well, they do show them picking them up in a truck at the train station.
That's right. Oh.
Still, though,
you got to answer for everything.
There's got to be like 100 men there. It's like, what? How do you not notice it? So it's actually a very cute scene because I will say I thought the actor who played the general, I really like that guy.
Yeah.
And he comes down and he's like, "Turn hut," and he looks at him and he's like tearing, but he comes down, and he does the inspection. He cries.
Every time a general cries, George, an angel gets its wings clipped off.
And every time a general cries, later these men just shoot him in the back of the head because they're like, "You're not a real man," because it's the 50s. They murder him, and that's how the movie ends.
Yes, it is. That's it.
But no, he does a cute thing. He walks up the line. He's like, "Look at you. You're a disgrace." There's a scene where like a big guy was trying to get his belly in his uniform.
Yeah, it doesn't fit anymore.
It's like, it doesn't clothes. I don't understand. Then
he's like, I oughta.
So then he shakes Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye's hand.
Yep.
And he's sitting there, and they do more musical numbers. Is that when they finally sing "Dreaming of a White Christmas"?
I don't know, but they do stop making sense. They put big giant bodysuits on. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah. There's a point when.
I wonder if young David Byrne was watching this. They have these big bodies of and their little heads are how do I explain it? They have big bodies on a stage.
So
and they're little
the four leads are dancing on stage, and suddenly these like large bodies. They're not just giant suits like Dave Byrne. Like they actually have hands and stuff. And it's the song about like lamenting like how there's no work for generals, I guess. Or
no, I think it's about them going back to normal life. Oh, yeah. It's like a housewife.
It's about them going back. Yeah, you're right.
Butcher,
and like so one's like a
maker,
butcher, and one's a panty
serial
sniffer.
killer, and panty sniffer.
Yeah. And you go, give me your truffles, and
and that's basically. And then it snows asbestos, as I sent you a little.
Yeah, so
it snows.
There's a bit we see the general's sitting there at the table. And his second in command comes up and gives him a message. And it's very much like, what's happening? Are they under attack? And he goes aside and it's snowing. And I still don't know, honestly, within the context of the movie, is it a miraculous real snow or did somehow they engineer snow? Like because as Tim sent me an article, this is very upsetting.
Yes.
The snow used on the soundstage was actually particulate asbestos.
Yep, that's what they did.
So everybody in this movie must have died. There's children dancing on this stage.
Oh
yeah.
Did you notice Judy brought Bing a Christmas present after they did their act on stage, and he opens it up. It's a knight in armor, and he's like, "Thanks." And then he tosses it into the tree. You know, it fell and broke into a couple pieces.
Yeah, there was a running line which we didn't mention that like she says
thought he was
like,
"Oh,
he's like, your white knight's gonna get off his horse someday." And she gives him a white knight, and he's like, "Oh baby, we're gonna date for like 2 months and break up terribly. Yes. It's gonna be great." I already mentioned my last note was that this movie was so unbearably wholesome that the fact that you love this made me uncomfortable. But now we've talked it out. I feel a little bit safer around you.
Okay, revenge. Wherever you are, wherever you're hiding, I'll find you.
Revenge.
One of us will die. One of us will die.
I will not let Cindy take my place. I will have my revenge.
Hard question.
Most likely to dance with the devil in the pale moonlight. Which character?
My voice is dying. Okay, I didn't think about this at all.
Neither did I.
Oh, Emma.
Yeah.
Emma. She was evil.
Oh, Emma was the, pardon me, everybody. Emma was the housekeeper.
Yeah. Do you think her? Or maybe...
Well, I like the idea of Emma because she is a force of evil. I like to think that she probably... We don't see much of her inner life. We know she runs the... she's the housekeeper at the Columbia Inn owned by General Waverly. But what does she do in her spare time?
She dances.
Turns out she goes to nearby Gotham City and shoots wealthy couples in darkened alleys near movie theaters.
Suddenly she's the Joker? What?
Well, eventually, Tim, she's got to fall in a vat of chemicals first.
Jeez. I just thought she went out back and danced in the moonlight.
Oh, you think she literally danced with the
That's
devil?
why there was no snow. Remember? It was like, why is there no snow? She was a witch.
Oh my God. Do you think she used her witchy powers to make asbestos rain down?
Yeah. It was the nice 1950s, and a woman who was single was a witch.
This movie was full of single people.
It was. Not one married couple I can think of.
All the Haynes sisters, Wallace and Gromit, whatever the fuck their names were. The general had a granddaughter, but no children or wife.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Well,
all right.
That both of our ideas landed with a thud.
Yep, that was great. Best episode ever. All right. Do you want to do revenge first, or shall I? Do you need to rest up your voice, or should I go?
I'll just get through it.
All right, let's do it. Tim!
I'm not going to announce it, but it's going to be my rule. No more than 600 words.
You literally just announced it, Tim.
I'm going to cut that out. Going to do my story.
Work for yourself.
So Emma Ellen also. She's the person in my story. The innkeeper who eavesdrops on everyone and reads everybody's mail. Well, once Bob and Betty find out her meddling almost ruined their love affair, and it almost ruined the planned show to help out the general. And, the general found out. The general was enraged. And he tells her that she is never to gossip about anything she sees or hears again. At first, he told her not to eavesdrop or read letters, but he noticed that if she couldn't eavesdrop or read letters, she would bleed from the eyes and dead sheep would appear on the grounds.
Oh, because she's a witch. Nice. All right. Wow. I like that this is in continuity with the Dance of the Devil bit.
So you can snoop, the general said, but never gossip again, or I'll make sure you never work as an innkeeper here or any place in the world.
Ooh.
Thus, Emma went back to work, and as she was allowed to do, she would snoop and read letters and listen to phone calls. In fact, in 1959, pilot Roger Peterson stays at the inn before he travels to Iowa to fly a Beechcraft Bonanza in order to transport Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper. Roger was on the phone talking about how he felt the Beechcraft was unsafe, but the other man on the line told him to shut up and do his job. And Emma said nothing. Then, in 1962, an odd man stayed at the inn who called himself Charlie Book Depository. But when Emma listened to his call, the other man on the line called him Lee Harvey Oswald. They talked about Kennedy going to Dallas and Operation Codename Upside Down Easter that would happen on November 22nd. Emma said...
Not Operation Codename Explodo Head.
Nope. That's two on the head. 2 on the dot. 2 on the money. Emma says nothing. And in 1967, Lynette Alice stayed at the inn, and she was on a call to a man who called her by her codename Squeaky Fromm. He wanted her to get back to California so they could start their race war by killing people, and Emma said nothing.
This is like a greatest hits of shit you bring up way too often on this show.
And in 1977, Elvis stayed at the inn, and he talked on the phone about faking his death soon. The other voice on the line said Operation Ballroom Karate is a go. And Emma said nothing. Then she hears the general, get calls from his doctor telling him to not smoke anymore or he's going to die. But she also hears the general fall asleep while the doctor talks. And she also opens up the letters that tell the general he needs to pay his mortgage or they're going to repossess the inn. But Emma notices his eyes are so bad he doesn't read his letters anymore. So she says nothing. She's being super passive-aggressive.
This is the most passive-aggressive. She makes Rosemary Clooney's character seem not passive-aggressive.
Yep. She marries a man named Patrick Rose and waits till the the general dies and loses his inn. And she has, unknown to him, fixed his will so that she gets everything. She gets the inn, because he was old and feeble-minded.
Yeah.
Thus, General Waverly dies from smoking too much, and Emma and her husband now own the inn. But, she got sweet revenge on him for not letting her gossip anymore.
What was the name Rose?
Oh,
was that a Schitt's Creek reference?
No.
Oh.
I got one more thing. Emma got her revenge on him for having to keep all that sweet gossip to herself. She took over ownership and had to hire a new innkeeper to man the desk because she was busy running the place. And one week, Emma's husband was traveling to deal with legal issues about them taking all General Waverly's money, and she was talking to him on the phone about what they had done and how they had let the general die. And she hangs up and sees in the back room the new innkeeper was listening on the phone, just like she used to do. So karma bit her in the ass. That movie was called Look Who's Talking.
Was the new innkeeper Jack Torrance, a.k.a. Jack Nicholson from The Shining?
Yeah.
And she's like, "You've always been here."
She said, You've always been here.
I got to say, Tim, I can't believe you skipped over 1970. I thought for sure she'd have picked up the phone and there had been somebody talking to Yoko Ono saying, "So we're going to split up the Beatles, right? Because just hitting your benchmarks, you're slipping. I can see you're really sick."
That's me, keeping it to 600 words. That's a good editor.
Way to go, Tim. Good job. Tight like a Mississippi muckmaker.
Glad I started the music. Now we got to start your music.
Yep. Oh yeah, start my music.
Right here.
All right, Revenge sequel to White Christmas. So the movie starts off, on the European front of World War II. We see them come under attack from German forces. And then we inexplicably shift to 10 years later. It's kind of a weird beginning to the movie, but there's a reason I mention it. We meet our female leads when they're fleeing the dreaded state of Florida for an inflated rug burning price. And the sheriff is in hot pursuit. The sheriff, who I mentioned,
German.
He follows them. We don't know. He's German. He follows them up to Vermont. And he kind of blends in with the local Vermont people. He's playing horseshoes in a couple scenes. And he's seeing what's happening around him. And he sees these guys, they're trying to help their old general. And he recognizes this general. He's like, that's General Wee Willie Winkle Waverly. I remember him. He killed my commanding officer in WW2. He lays in wait. And then he's watching his favorite show, the Ed Harris show, where famed actor Ed Harris, and then Bob Harris show, and all the other variations. He watches the Ed Sullivan show, and he sees Bing Crosby call all those different soldiers. And soon enough, the dread 51st Assembly, it's there. The whole group. And so, Tim, this revenge sequel kind of takes place concurrently.
Ooh.
There is the scene in the movie where you'll see General Waverly, he's watching, he's all dressed up in his dress greens. He's watching with such pride as his men, who he led to combat victory over the hated Germans. They're putting on the show for them. He's crying like a baby. The men don't know how to deal with this. They're like, we gotta kill him later. This is awful. Our fragile images of manhood are crumbling. And his second in command goes, "Sir, there's something you need to see."
Uh-oh.
They step outside, and what appears to be snow, it's not snow.
Uh-oh.
It's not even asbestos.
Skin.
No, Tim, that's too dark.
Bones.
It's Adhesive X.
I know Adhesive X.
You know Adhesive X because it turns out that sheriff, he's really Baron Zemo.
Wow, you're going there?
Yeah, German supervillain, arch enemy of Captain America, slayer of him before he was revealed to be alive, slayer of Bucky. Wow. He's dropping Adhesive X all over the ground. Adhesive X is it's this adhesive.
Yeah.
That is unbreakable.
Like the name says.
It glued his father, his commanding officer. It glued his mask to his face. It was not able to remove. He hated Captain America for that. This is all blanketing the ground. And after the movie ends, they're all like, "Hey guys,
let's go skiing.
Let's go play in the snow."
No.
the entire 51st Infantry and various hangers-on, including several small children, and in fact, the entire town of Pine Tree, Vermont, are all affixed in place
forever
by Adhesive X. Not forever, Tim, because it turns out they slowly starve to death over the next few weeks. And Baron Zemo walks through on his gravity sneakers, which makes him float 3 inches above the ground, eating sausages and having German potato salad and strudels in front of them as they slowly starve to death.
Wasn't killing Bucky enough?
No, it was not. That fucked up Captain America. But for General Waverly, he made him watch as his entire men starve to death.
Wow.
And just as Captain Waverly was about to die, he took pity on him and gave him a little bit of a sausage to eat. And as the vigor returned to General Waverly, he said, "Surprise, Schwein! You just ate your granddaughter."
Oh,
and then the movie ends.
You said skin.
Merry Christmas!
I said skin. You're like, that's too dark. But come on. Merry Christmas, everyone. Sorry.
Merry Christmas
episode.
I outdid myself. Feeling pretty good about myself.
Was that 600 words?
Probably. I just write down notes. I wrote down revenge. German sheriff is supervillain.
Okay.
That's my notes. Yep.
Well, like us and love us. We're on everything. We're on Podchaser, Good Pods, and you can follow us on Instagram, Seddy_Bimco. I'm just doing this now. We can still talk about things.
Yep.
You can send us a letter at SeddyBimco with an E at gmail.com, and I will check the mail. I can't read.
Do we have any mail?
I can't read any mail if we have it. Nope,
no mail. So
please do not write us
nobody
letters.
Loves us. No, write us really long letters that have the name Harris in it, so Tim will trip over the words the whole time.
He was on Cheers, right? He was the bartender.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Ed Harris. Yeah, he was the original one. And they realized they went to rewrite
Harrelson.
it. Woody Harrelson. Oh my God, Tim.
The Ed Harrelson Show. Smokes a lot of pot.
The George Harrison Show.
But you're going to pick a movie for the closer to Christmas.
Yep. As we move in further into the holiday season, we are going to be watching the Christmas masterpiece, Ernest Saves Christmas.
And it's on Disney?
On Disney Plus,
Ernest
if you have
Saves
it.
Christmas. Wow.
Yep.
What year did that come out?
I've never seen it. 1910.
Because sadly, he died. I forget when.
He died, yeah. 1988.
He died in 1988?
No, that's when this movie came out.
He died in the 90s sometime.
Let's see. When did Jim Varney die? That's 2000. So this is pretty close to when he died. No, it's not.
88.
It's 12 years away. Not that close.
In today's years, it's about 12 or 13 years.
I've never seen this movie. It might actually be good.
Mm.
But you know what? It might not be.
I don't remember if I've seen a Verne movie, so maybe I saw part of one.
Yeah, I don't know. I have either. I think I maybe saw the first one, whatever that is.
Okay.
Ernest Scared Stupid, is that it?
I don't know.
Ernest Scared Shitless. Yeah, happy holidays, everybody, because I'm not a Christian centrist like Tim is, being disrespectful to our non-Christian listeners.
I don't know. I'm sick. I'm sick. I gotta go.
All right. Bye,
Great
everybody.
Show. Goodbye, and see you next week.
Best episode ever. Seddy Bimco.
This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.
George's Courage Currency Kerner.